First thing first, any platform like Formaloo, we are just a software. We are just a platform that enables a digital workspace. All of the responsibilities rely on you to manage, for example, to manage your team. When an employee leaves your organization, to revoke their access, to use the security measurements inside your system, for example, SSO, SAML, to make sure that all of the connections are secure, all of the, for example, the laptops, the mobile devices that they use are secure inside your network. All of these things rely on you to make sure that you are controlling who has access to what are the activities, and when I should revoke or change their access as needed. So same thing. So you should have a monitoring staff to monitor all of the activities regularly and monitor all of your team members. Same as any software that you use. So all of the softwares that you use should happen the same thing. The second part is the most common mistake in a HIPAA compliance organization that want to become HIPAA compliant is integrations, basically connection of data. So all of us use a lot of different products, a lot of different platforms, a lot of different software as a solution services, a lot of different softwares. And when we are using them and we are trying to integrate them together, create a workflow, create an automation, a lot of times we are sending data to a place that we are not supposed to. I give you one of the biggest examples that happen in real world. For example, email notifications, very popular. You want to send when a new patient registers inside your system, you want to send an email notifications to some of your departments, even to yourself. But you have to see that your email client, if it's not HIPAA compliant, you should not do that. So if the destination of where I'm sending the data is not HIPAA compliant, I should not send data there. The rule is this: if you want to become a HIPAA compliant organization, everything that you are using, that you are sending data or receiving data from, should be HIPAA compliant as well. So, for example, you are working with Formaloo, but your email client is not HIPAA compliant. Most of email clients are not HIPAA compliant. So you should not use email notification at all. You should send email notifications that contains no patient information. You just say, you have a new patient. If you want to see it, click here, and you go back to Formaloo and see the data there. In that way, if someone forwards that email to someone else, they cannot see any of the patient information, because in order to see it, they have to log in. Very simple, but it's missed a lot, especially in the businesses, because we want to say, okay, what's the harm? Let's use email notification and send the real data, the data that is sensitive, like contact information, like medical records, like insurance records. The three no-nos. Three big no-nos are these three. Should not be sent to unencrypted platforms. For example, a lot of email clients, they are unencrypted platforms. Even if they are using SSL, which is sometimes marketed as an encryption platform, it's not. So it's not enough that your email client use SSL. That doesn't mean anything. If I can forward that patient info to someone else, that means it's not HIPAA compliant. Very easy, because I can send it to someone that doesn't have access and they can see that data. So always you should have all of your sensitive information behind a login system like Formaloo. That's the main thing that a lot of businesses miss. Same thing happens when you are using integration to sync data to someplace else. This happens a lot, for example, when you are using a platform like Google Sheet or Office Online, and you want to send data, for example, from a HIPAA compliant system like Formaloo to someplace that is not. So when you are sending the data, you are basically duplicating the data, duplicating your data inside a place that is not HIPAA compliant, like Google Sheet. You should not store any of your sensitive data there. Why? Because someone can access that that doesn't have authorization from your company. And from that moment, you broke the HIPAA Compliance Act. So any kind of integrations that you are duplicating data, for example, to your CRM, for example, if you are using HubSpot or Salesforce or whatever, and that's not HIPAA compliant, you should not do that. You should only use integrations from a HIPAA compliance platform to a HIPAA compliance platform, to Formaloo to X, for example, to something that is HIPAA compliant as well. So you can measure who has access to it in other platforms. So it's not about not using the integration, it's about using the integrations responsibly, so no one can read that data that doesn't have access to it. So it's all about the visibility. Same thing happens when you are doing development. For example, if you are using our API, our SDK, our webhook, or any kind of development system with Formaloo and other systems. Same thing can happen here. If you are creating an application using Formaloo API, using API of other system, all of those should be HIPAA compliant as well. Otherwise, you don't have the full picture of who has access to that data. So the same thing. Email notifications, integrations, duplicating data to someplace else, and using API. Same rule applies to all of them. Only your organization should be responsible and monitor where the data is sent and where the data is received. Simple. It's like a lot of things, but it's very, very simple. The other issue that a lot of healthcare organizations face when they want to become HIPAA compliant is that a lot of patients are there, a lot of data is there, and they want to create, as Anano showed you, dashboards for different departments. So one of the cool features of Formaloo is that when you have, for example, something called patients, and you have in their medical records, insurance records, billing records, and their contact information and other information of the patient. So you have a database that is massive. A lot of these different records are there. One of the cool features of Formaloo is partial visualization. So what does that mean? As Anand showed you, is that you can choose what to show to what purpose. So to what people they can see what. For example, again, let's go to the example of the billing department. So the billing department, they should see the patient name because they want to contact them. They should see the contact info because they want to send them their invoice, their bills, whatever. And they should see their billing information. But they should not be able to see their medical records, insurance records, or other things that they shouldn't have access to. It might be different in different organizations. You will decide based on your operation, but they should not have access to that. So in Formaloo, you should create a dashboard that shows this data of billing information, contact information, but hides of all of the medical records, insurance records, and other information that billing person and that billing team shouldn't see anyway. So when you're creating a dashboard inside Formaloo, make sure that you are designing this accordingly to the team that they have access to. The best practice is to create a dashboard for each department, or to create a dashboard for each team if you're not working as a department. So each team, for example, your sales team, marketing team, should have a different dashboard from your, for example, medical staff, the doctors, the nurses, and from, for example, your billing department. Same thing goes for everything else. So different dashboards that are very similar, but they are showing different part of your database of patients. Same thing happens when you are giving access to your patients to see their records. So I'm a patient, I want to see my records, and you are giving me access to see my records. There are some information that should not be shared with the patient because it's part of your organization. So you should hide those from sending them to the patients and inside the records. For example, some doctor notes, some billing notes, and anything else that, for example, their status or anything else that they should not have inside their system. So by creating this customized dashboard, you can make sure that each team have access to the right data to do their job effectively and efficiently, but they don't have access to any sensitive information that they should not. Thankfully, Formaloo provides that. And you can manage everything inside folders, which makes it great, especially if you want to categorize and segment your patients to different groups. For example, if you have different branches, if you want to categorize your patients to different, for example, year of operation, anything that it's depending on your system. You have the power of customizability, but you have to mirror what you are doing in real world into what you are doing online. Same thing happens when, for example, we have a lot of healthcare startups that we are working with. Same thing happens for businesses that are online. They are a real business. So same rules apply here. Everything that they are working on should have the same aspects to work with. So mirroring what we want to do in real world inside the digital world and managing all of that data.